I have a lot of plans. Hi, I'm David. I'm the creative director at Modulus and co-founder of Happy Volcano. I've always been a fan of factory automation games, and I'm personally also very interested in architecture, graphic design, and the sorts. And I was always carrying this idea around of what if you could build your own building blocks in a factory automation type of setup and then use those blocks to actually build something. The goal in Modulus is to complete a set of deliveries, and those deliveries will mostly revolve around tangible objects like robots or science packs with these specific building blocks. So we call them modules. You start with a cube, it becomes a form, so much more like a building block. Then the building block becomes a building, and that building then in turn produces something that can be used in the factory to complete your goals. There is like a million ways to make that module. And there are efficient ways, there are creative ways, there are just I don't care ways. We kind of reward efficiency the most because it's a factory game. And if you find a way to make this faster, it's just gonna produce, the building is just gonna produce more. If you have a specific setup that creates a specific item or module, and it's still used in other designs in the game for other buildings. So you can choose, for example, to create this specific module in just like abundancy and just store it. And then you can divert it to other parts of your factory that also use that starting shape. I think that's what makes it cool, because you can then just find a great setup for a specific module and just copy that and paste it again, and you create more of the same thing if you've got your resources in place, of course. But how you make that building block is, I think, what sets Modulus apart. We give you full freedom or complete freedom to design, chop, paint, stamp pieces, sort of almost like a sculptor. This is what you get, and how are you gonna cut it now? Because it's voxel based, and giving you a couple of basic tools to create a new design, and combining those tools will not have a set of possible outcomes. The outcomes are trillions based on what you do with the operation. So the complete freedom of designing anything that's voxel based is, I think, what sets this apart. With all games, if you start, you're still learning, and inherent to this genre, there's a little bit of a learning curve or some systems you need to understand first, and we're trying to really nail that with a decent tutorial. And we start very simple. We start changing the cube into like a longer cube. But as we progress, the modules get more difficult. But at some point, something starts to click in your head and think about, okay, I understand the systems now. I could have done this more efficiently. So the buildings you built at the start of the game will probably not have the most efficient factory line, but going back and redoing it allows you to build more of them with the same resources, because you're using your resources better. We really try to make it as non-punishing as possible to reiterate or rework parts of your factory. So you get the money back you used, you can duplicate whole areas, you can move stuff around, even completed buildings, just to give you that Zen feeling of creation and optimizing, you know, without too much pressure. I think the Zen experience comes from the game because it's made by creators who like creating. Compare it to like a sort of flow you can be in when you're just by yourself crafting something or building a Lego piece or something like that. You're just completely in the moment. And I think everything that we design in the game should enhance that feelings. Some people will like it, some people won't like it, but I like the abstract part of Modulus a lot. But I also like it's grounded in some sort of world and context where you deliver a specific thing that is not abstract. When I'm playing the game, I always combine two cubes to make a sort of cuboid, because it just allows me to cut larger pieces, which is less operations, but more efficiency in the game. And just figuring out these shortcuts or these ways of changing up your production flow and reusing old things or repainting them or putting them back into the furnace, or using waste as well to optimize, that's really cool. And I think just being able to do this needs an abstract system. Yeah, I'm super proud of the fact that every module we ask you to make and the exact number of modules is actually used to construct that building floor. So if you would just take the building apart, it would be those actual modules that you just delivered to it. And not only that, so this kind of gives a purpose to the game, but it's not the end station. And what I'm most proud of is that it's just a building is a machine itself. So you make the building, and in order to have it produce something, you need to keep on feeding modules into it. And when the building is creating something, based on how well your production line is, it's going to create more or less, and that thing is going to be used again, and in combination with another building that becomes a machine in itself. And it's a bit of like machine inception or something like that. I have a lot of plans. But yeah, we have to see first. The first thing we want to do is create a solid system based on extensive playtesting. I really would like to do this based on what our community is telling us, what they would like to see in this game, because there's basically a lot of directions we could take. We could put more focus on designing custom buildings, or we could put more focus on more content or bigger maps or terrain challenges or side objectives or bigger modules, bigger conveyor belts, different transport systems. There's a lot of options we can choose from if we get the base game right, and that's our priority number one. We've been playtesting Modulus since the first prototype, and it's due to those external playtests and talking with community and playtesters, we've taken steps forwards, but we want to continue to do this throughout the whole development process, because it's so valuable to create something that works for most players. And we want to know what adds the most value to players. Not only that, we want to playtest to optimize the user experience, to see if there's things that are not working well, or if there's fatigue in some area of the game, or what do you eventually want this game to be? Where do you want it to go? Would you want it to be more on rails with more content, or you want it to be more of a sandbox? I think that's just golden to have a community that's dedicated to the game and just trying to make this thing better. It's in some way, it's also a modular design process, because we're making a system and then we're deciding where we go next. So we have a Discord, Modulus Discord. Just jump in there. You can join the playtest. You can chat with our community. It's a wonderful community. We have a Steam page. You can watch some screenshots and the trailer there. Just wishlist it. And yeah, I guess that's it. I will see you there.